welcome back to the garage. So today we got an interesting one. We're going to play a little game of rod bearing or timing chain. So in these early generation Jaguar V8s and even in the later ones, but they did some improvements in the later ones, made them a lot better. They're known for having timing tensioner issues that causes a rattle, and then eventually the engine will actually break and bend all the valves, and it's very bad. So when I've had this engine open before, and the upper tensioners actually have been replaced. They were replaced somewhere in the neighborhood of 2008, 2009, because that's the date stamps that I found on the tensioners. However, who knows what the final status of it is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to rev this up for a second, and then the rattle will become very pronounced. And it's a fairly high speed rattle, which tends to make me think it's the timing chain as well. It's not a consistent rhythm like a rod bearing would be. But one way you can tell if a rod bearing is bad is you actually kill each individual cylinder. So I'm going to have to do both sides, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to disconnect each coil pack and listen to see if the rattle noise goes away. Because normally what happens is as that piston is moving up and down, it's basically slapping the bad bearing. So you remove the spark, and you no longer have that extra bit of the force from the combustion hitting that broken bearing. So anyway, that's what we're going to do to check it. Well, anyway, so here we did all 8 cylinders. I didn't hear any change. It's probably hard for you guys to hear on the camera, but one of the other symptoms in this particular engine of a worn out timing chain or something, or one that's out of adjustment, is to start to get a lumpy idle. And I've had an intermittent lumpy idle for a little while now. So I got the noise, the rattle in the front end. And the noise is very much concentrated on this end of the motor. So yeah, I got the noise, I got the lumpy idle. Looks like I will be ordering some timing chain components here in the very near future. This vehicle is currently not being driven because of this issue, because I'd much rather put a timing chain on it than have to rebuild the heads and everything else. So we'll park it for temporary, and then worry about fixing it here in the near future. Anyway, so that's it. This technique can be applied to different vehicles. You know, it's not exclusive to this one. I learned it years ago. just word of caution, like these have are a coil pack, so it's easy enough just to disconnect the power to them. But if you're disconnecting like spark plug leads, make sure you're using properly insulated tools, because they will shock the living heck out of you. So just kind of bear that in mind. Also, certain scan tools have the ability to turn off individual cylinders, which is an even safer way of doing that with one of these modern cars. I don't have that functionality, so just things to keep in mind. Anyway, hope this is useful for you, and until next time.